Hey, what's going on there? Dr. Jason here, board certified naturopathic doctor. I want to talk to you today about parasites and parasite detoxification, something that's really important that we discuss and it may be trending right now on social media. I think it's kind of a hot topic. Let's talk about it. Can they make you really sick? Absolutely. They can absolutely be a huge problem in your health, and they can cause a lot of issues from brain fog, fatigue, kind of stomach bloat for sure. They can actually exacerbate food sensitivities and food allergies for sure. Skin issues, if you notice you're breaking out a lot around the body there. Rectal itching, I know that sounds like a lot of fun, but that's definitely another sign or symptom of it there. And moodiness, especially in kids, believe it or not, it can really mess with their mood just because it can mess with some of the hormone levels, especially that kids are more sensitive to. So they can become a problem. I would consider those what are called subclinical symptoms, right? You can live with those. Clinical would be nausea, vomiting, not able to keep food down, migraines, and then, really, really terrible stomach pain. And of course, there's many other issues as well. And I'm not going to get into so much like the different types of them, but I will tell you a couple. There's some called blood flukes that can actually, they're small enough to go up through some of the portal vein system up into the liver, maybe in the pancreas. And those can seriously cause problems in there because they're living in very sensitive organs that do a lot of work in our body. Not that our bowel doesn't, but our bowel can harbor a lot of issues and maintain some pretty good health most of the time. But we want to be careful about those that can, again, migrate up into some of those other organs there. And there are some, that's more rare, but there are some that can get into our joint spaces, our nervous system, like our spinal cord and our brain. And those are really problematic. They're going to be pretty rare. But I do find those on occasion, and there is a way to detox from those, okay? Those can cause, obviously, oftentimes they can kind of mimic more like multiple sclerosis symptoms where we could have some serious issues with cognition, with weakness, things like that. It can get kind of weird and obviously can be pretty scary there. So those are a couple kind of introductory things about parasites. Where do they come from? Well, they're part of being human, to be honest with you. You really can't wash your food or cook your food enough. You're going to get some traces of parasites no matter how hard you try, so just accept that. The idea is that we want them to be transient. We want them, if they're going to come in the body, we want them to be a small enough number and then kind of go through a process I'll talk about in a second and be eliminated. And there is some literature showing that a few strains can be very, actually, believe it or not, beneficial. They can keep in check other organisms. So it's all about balance there. But to get back to being transient, what does that really mean? Let's say you consume, let's say eating a salad and it's been washed and everything, you're still going to get potentially some larvae on there from parasites. Again, welcome to being human. What we want to do though is a couple things. One, chew your food really thoroughly, right? We're going to really masticate, break down those foodstuffs, at least 30 chews per bite of food. It's super important we really chew that food up. Why? If that whole food passes to our bowel and there are parasites left over after our meals, which there will be, you actually just gave them food, like a meal. Kind of think of it like giving fish food, like in the tank. Okay, you don't want to give them any fuel once they get to the bowel if they make it that far. Number one, so chew your food like really well. It needs to be oatmeal texture or liquid before you swallow. That means, guess what? That means you got to slow down. You can't eat a meal in average, 5 minutes is the average meal in America, 6 minutes? No, come on. First of all, you should be eating whole food mostly, right? And it needs to be a 15 to 20 minute meal because you have to actually chew your food. Number two, stomach acid. When we chew our food, we are going to stimulate stomach acid, but most folks I deal with are about 80 to 90% are deficient in stomach acid. Why is that so important? Well, again, if our stomach acid is low, we're going to pass undigested food to our colon, which we talked about. But number two, if you have sufficient stomach acid, we're going to be able to break down those microbes in the stomach and somewhat partially sterilize our stomach contents as we digest our food from our meals. So again, those parasites should perish mostly in our stomach with sufficient levels of stomach acid. Guess what? 80 to 90% of the patients I test do not have sufficient levels. That means even with good chewing, we're still passing some of those microbes down into our rest of our body. So there's some of the basics you can do. We'll talk about this in another video, but do not dilute your meal with tons of water. Big mistake. I know we're all busy and we may forget to drink and we're like, oh, I'm so thirsty. I just ate a meal. I'm going to chug a whole bunch of water. Please stop doing that. Try to drink your water in between your meals. Why? Again, you dilute that stomach acid. We can't break down our food enough. We also can't sterilize our stomach contents like parasites, and they continue throughout the rest of your body. Okay, so some of the tips I would suggest: chew your food very thoroughly, minimize water with meals, and work with someone to assess your stomach acid. There are a number of things you can do to assess it. I don't want to get into those because we have to be careful about if you have an ulcer, if you have H. pylori infection, all these other factors, damage in the esophagus called Barrett's esophagus. All these things we want to be careful about and rule out. So work with a professional to assess your stomach acid appropriately, address that, and then from there you can have much better digestion. And some people don't even need a parasite detox if we're able to do those things and get our bowels working properly, okay? As far as detoxing from parasites, be careful. I would not trust just anything that you hear out there in social media or on the internet or Google. You also be careful, I'm not going to name the name, but be careful when you buy certain products. There's been studies on a major digital retailer of foods and goods, let's just put it that way, who's been found to have some of the top rated supplements to not meet the label claims. So a lot of those things you're taking are not what you think they are. You got to be careful. I'd work with a professional to know that you're getting the right detoxification for that issue. And also, you want to make sure you're consuming things that are going to target the right parasites, okay? Some of them won't respond to certain medicines or certain foods. So just some things to keep in mind. I want you to make sure you keep getting educated, work with a professional on this topic. There's a lot to it, and we'll take it from there. And I hope this was helpful. You have a great day. Talk soon. Bye-bye.